Girl, you are ugly. No, I take that back. You look like Natalie Portman when you take off your glasses. Does that sound kind of mean if you actually say that to a girl? You call a girl ugly, or you call a girl a dog? What do you think about that? Because that's what I've done. I've called a girl a dog one time, but I was really trying to say like a good kind of dog, like a puppy or something like that. And I did that when I lived in New York at a college from 2004 to 2006. I think it was more like 2004 2005 when I called a girl a dog, but I wasn't trying to say something bad, but she got offended. And then later in 2008 I met a girl, and it was a friend of my friend Lincoln Hawk, and he got me her number, and she was from his youth group because he's a youth pastor in the Salvation Army in Long Beach, California, the United States of America, and I'm from Oregon, which is a state above California. But at the time, I was on a mission trip with the Salvation Army in Hawaii. So I was in Hawaii for 9 months doing things with the Salvation Army, helping people, feeding, and making friends with the homeless people and with children in poor neighborhoods, and just making friends and trying to help people, and mostly just being friends with people, and learning about things and problems, and learning about how to help people and how to become better people, and just helping people and the different ways to help people and different ways to talk with people and make friends with people, and learning about the different problems that are in this world and in Hawaii, and learning about different things and making different friends, and doing different things. And that process taught me a lot, and I learned a lot of different things. And then I was also friends with Lincoln Hawk that I met at a young adult retreat that we called WYI. It's the Salvation Army get together. And Salvation Army is an organization, and it's a part of the family of God, Christians, churches, and that meet on Sundays and also meet on other days for different clubs and events, and like the band where you play music and they practice it on other days, and then they actually perform during church at the core. They call it a core instead of a church, and they do that and they perform, and they rehearse on other days, and they perform on Sundays, and they perform at other events too, and other days, and other places, and other things, and they become close, and they become closer as like friends and family, and they feel like family, and everybody gets to know each other through different events when they get together, and they different like groups go to different places, and they do different events, and then everybody gets to know each other, and then every once in a while they get together for like bigger events like WII, which stands for Western Youth Institute, and it's like a young adult retreat where you get together for like a retreat for like 7 days, and you get to have fun and learn more about how to help people, and how to become better people, and how to serve God more, so to speak, and worship God more, and how to love God more, how to love other people especially, because as you love God, you love other people more, and that's what we do in these different retreats with the Salvation Army and other organizations as well, like Word of Life. And this happened after I was working at a Salvation Army camp in Oregon. That is in Boring, Oregon, is the Camp currently a trestle gland, and I was a wilderness counselor for the first year and also for the next year too. So 2007 and 2008, I was a wilderness counselor out in the woods where we take the campers and we teach them life skills of how to survive in the woods and how to become better people and things like that. And we have a good time. We have games and lessons and songs and adventures and hiking and all these different things each week for like 8 weeks in the summer of 2007, 2008, and it was an adventure. And I was a counselor before at a Word of Life camps, at Word of Life camps. And Word of Life is another organization that is focused on bringing the gospel of Christ to the youth, especially. And that organization, Word of Life, is all around the world, and they're doing that in different countries with their different Bible clubs for the little kids that I was involved with since I was 6 years old, where you learn Bible verses and you get to play games and you have to have lessons and songs and different things that help young people become better people so they can grow up and be more responsible adults, and different things that I find useful that really helped me in my life, and it helps other people. And they have the different camps as well, and I grew up in their clubs, in Word Life clubs, and even Salvation Army clubs, and Awanas, and basketball, and Kuma math, and different things. And I was homeschooled, and I was in a homeschool club, and we did different activities like skating, and we went different places in the homeschooling club, and I was involved in other clubs with Word of Life and Awanas and Salvation Army and other things, and the homeschooling club, and then just having social skills and getting experience with having friends and family, and just other things as well. And then going to public high school and being involved with classes and clubs and different things, and even like plays in my youth group, different churches. I was involved in different youth groups, and then I went to Bible colleges and started working at camps, and I was able to be a counselor at different camps with like Word of Life and then Salvation Army, and then I was able to go to the retreat and able to meet Lincoln Hawk, who's a youth pastor in the Salvation Army, and that was really interesting. And one of the things that I will never forget in my life, those certain moments in life when certain things happen, and when you meet certain people, and it changes who you are for the better. And some things can be controversial in the different things that happens in your life, and the different decisions that you make, and the different things you say, and people can look at it and they can get a little defensive, or they can say, how dare you say that, or how dare you do that, or different things like that, or they may not understand, including the things that I do. And that's what I'm trying to tell you in my story. So spoil alert if you don't want to know about my life. This is my life, and here is the story that I'm trying to tell you. And I'm telling you this really slowly by telling you all these different details that might not be interesting, but they're interesting to me, and they're fundamental in setting up the stories to say, I was involved with all these different things that helped cultivate and develop me into the kind of person that I am. Different things has helped me grow and mature, like the different clubs and youth groups and churches and events and things that I was involved with since I was like born, since I was very young, and it helped me develop me, and took me down a path that I went, and I ultimately decided what to do with my life, and I wasn't like just like brainwashed, or people didn't make me do the things that I did. It helped, but I ultimately decided to do this and to do that, and eventually I decided to be a counselor with the Salvation Army, and then to go to the retreat, the WII, and then I met Lincoln Hawk, and then I was thinking about doing Revolution Hawaii, but then I wanted to help my mother because my mother needed money. She needed financial support. She was by herself. My father left her that year, in the year 2007, and then later they got a divorce in 2008, and then my mom was able to remarry, and then that guy died, and then she remarried again. But things started getting better with my mom, but at this time, believe it or not, at the time we weren't exactly sure. Well, I mean, I had some confidence in that, you know, God would take care of her, and God does, and that's what God does, and He's always doing that kind of thing behind the scenes. Especially, God does miracles that nobody knows happens, and there are miracles that people see that are out in the open. Those things happen too, but more often, the miracles that God does is the things that nobody knows about behind the scenes, that nobody will know that it happens, but usually that's how God works more often, is that God is invisible and you have to trust Him more than having the facts stare you in your face and stare you down and say, oh look, it's obvious that God did it kind of thing. God did that, look, boom, somebody's leg is healed kind of thing. God does things in the open, but also God does things behind the scenes more often. And then God asks you, just like He asked Abraham, to have faith, to follow Him. And that's mostly why miracles are behind the scenes more often. And I've seen a lot of different miracles in the course of my life, and how I got better and overcome things like, being partly deaf, and how scientists or like doctors or teachers, they look at my test results when I go take state tests every year, so that they can see if I'm learning something when I'm homeschooled, and they look at the results when I was like 7 years old or so, and they say, oh, you're never going to pass the 6th grade because you're mentally retarded and challenged, and I continue through the help of God and through the help of my mother, and I kept on going, and I never give up, and through the help of all those other things that I told you already about clubs and different programs, and all those different things helped me, and I go past the limitations of what other people think, like doctors and scientists and teachers. They look at test results and they think there's something wrong with me, especially like maybe with my brain and with my ears, since I couldn't hear as well, so I couldn't talk as well. And then when I started getting older, I started talking a little bit better, but then my younger sister was talking better than me, even though she's 5 years younger than me. And I was like 10 years old, and I started talking a little bit almost like my 5-year-old younger sister. And then I started catching up and going past the limitations that people had for me, that they thought, I'd never pass 6th grade, or I'd never do this, or I'd never do that kind of thing. And that is life, and those are miracles. When you go past those kinds of limitations that are there, that people think are there, when you pass those things, it's not totally accidental. It's not like evolution in the Big Bang, which I don't support, since I support creationism and intelligent design. But it's like those ideas of evolution and the Big Bang, of things being random, like, oh no, it just happened accidentally. But really, no, things happens for a reason, whether we know it or not, and whether we like it or not. Behind the scenes, things just happen, and things, for the better and for the worse, just things come together, and all things work together for the good of those who follow Christ. That's Romans 8:28. And you have to remember that it happens all the time. Invisible miracles from God changes who we are, and it makes us into better people, and this happens all the time. And so all these things are helping me in the course of my life, in the path that I'm taking, and then I'm going to Bible colleges, two Bible colleges, one in New York and then one in West Virginia. And then I'm also being a counselor in New York and California with Word of Life. And then I go to Oregon to help my mom, and I go and I work at camp, and I give the money that I earn from camp, Salvation Army Camp in Mooring, Oregon. That's Camp Karatli, working as a wilderness counselor. And then I go to the retreat, the WII, and I meet Lincoln Hawk, who becomes a really good friend of mine in a lot of different ways. And he's a youth pastor at a Salvation Army church. That's a Salvation Army Corps in Long Beach, California. And then he's telling me that I should do Revolution Hawaii, and with my other friend Jeff Walters, he tells me I should do it. He ends up doing it, and also like Blake Webb, and then I meet people eventually when I do it. But at first, I ripped up the application on the way back home because the retreat, the WII, was in California. It was in Scotts Valley, which is near San Jose, and it's like an hour from San Francisco, where they have that TV show Full House. And one time we actually went there when I was working there. In 2010, I ended up working at that camp, that same camp. They have a summer camp. It's another Salvation Army camp called Camp Redwood Glen, and I was there. And then during the weekend, me and some friends, we went to San Francisco, and I was like, oh, I wonder where the Full House house is. And it was interesting. And I was there for the first time during that retreat that I said in 2007. At the end of the summer, after I was working at Camp Karatli, a Salvation Army camp in Oregon. After that, I went on that retreat, the WII, and we hopped in like fans, and we go like 20 hours, or a bunch of hours, like more than 10 hours, to get all the way to Scotts Valley, which is near San Jose, and an hour from San Francisco, and we're there, and I meet Lincoln Hawk, but then, we have a good time, and a lot of different things happen during the week-long retreat with all these young people, mostly young people at the retreat, like 100 or 200 or 300 young adults. Young adults are like as young as like 15 years old, which is like teenagers, all the way up to like 25 or 30 years old. And there's also like leaders and other people too that are like different ages and older, and possibly some kids too, but mostly the young adults between 15 and like 28 years old, young adults. And it's really cool and exciting to get together and to meet people or run into old friends in that kind of group of liked minds, of people who want to get involved in the work of God and helping other people. And that's the kind of people that we were, and that's exciting when we're able to get together at a retreat, and to retreat at the retreat, and to have some treats at the retreat, and to retreat and have games and lessons and things to rejuvenate us and to inspire and encourage us to get back into the game and back into the warfare, since we're battling a war and battles against Satan himself and the demons, and basically dark fallen angels that used to be in heaven back at the dawn of time, until Satan decided I wanted to be better. Lucifer, who is Satan, wanted to be better than Christ being God himself, who is the same person. The Trinity is three, but one. You got God the Father, and God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. That's like three people, but it's not three gods, even though they're all gods. It's one, but three, so it's like three manifestations, or three versions, or three heads of the same God. So it's like God is like this person with three heads. The three heads is God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Three heads, but it's not really three heads because God is not really a physical person, but He's a spirit. So you've got God since the dawn of time as our creator and savior and sustainer and helper and counselor and everything you can imagine, all the different names and titles and like Emmanuel and Adonai, all these different things of who God really is. That's who God is. Since the dawn of time, God created everything, including Lucifer, who becomes Satan himself, the devil. But for some reason, Satan had that pride and that desire to be better than God and have people worship him. But he shouldn't have, and he was cast out of heaven and into hell. And since then, he has been on that path towards seeking like revenge, almost like he's in the Taken movie, where the daughter is taken away and the father's like, I will find you and I will kill you. He's talking to the bad people on the phone, and he hops in an airplane, he goes to other country, he finds his daughter, he finds the bad people, he finds them and he kills them. And Satan is kind of the same. He's kind of like, what do you call it, Liam Neeson, who plays that character. That actor, Liam Neeson, plays the character, the father, in that movie, Taken. And he plays Aslan in Narnia, in the three newest trilogy of the Narnia movies. And I really do like Narnia. And you have Satan, the devil himself, and he's like Liam Neeson, who's also played the Qui-Gon Jinn, the master of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who becomes the master of Anakin Skywalker, who, spoiler alert, becomes Darth Vader, who also has a son named Luke Skywalker, who blows up the Death Star and then finds out that Darth Vader is his father and didn't really kill his father, and then he goes and gets the Darth Vader to, spoiler alert, throw the Emperor in a hole and save the day at the end of the sixth movie, which was originally the third movie but later becomes the sixth movie because that's the order that it actually is in. You have Liam Neeson, and he's played all these different characters, and then you have Satan himself, the devil, who is kind of like Liam Neeson, kind of like the father in Taken, because he's like seeking revenge. In a way, he's seeking revenge and saying, I will find you, God. I will find all your people and I will kill them and bring them down to the pits of hell because I'm seeking revenge because you took my daughter. Not my literal daughter, because Satan does not have a daughter, but it's like his daughter is his pride and his arrogance and his desire to become better than God. So like at the dawn of time, Satan wanted to be better than God. So that's like he had a baby, and that's his daughter. And his daughter is basically not a real daughter, but it's just his desire to be better than God. And God said, no, I'm number one. And even though you were the second command, you're the worship leader that helped lead all the other angels to worship me, now you gotta go because of your desire, and you can take your daughter with you, your desire to be better than me, kind of thing. And now Satan is, like in the pit of hell, or I don't know if he's actually just like kept there right now, or whether or not he can actually run around right now, or maybe he'll be set free later on. Someday he'll be set free to run around and to make trouble in our neighborhoods, just like Will Smith in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, make trouble in the neighborhood like a lot of different bad guys do. So maybe Satan is in hell right now, but then he has other like demons doing the work for him if Satan is not running around right now. So he has his demons and dark fallen angels doing his bidding and doing his taxes and his tasks for him to make trouble in his neighborhood, to seek the revenge like the father in Taken, to kill other people and to make people turn away from God because he hates it when people follow God. But I choose to follow God, and you can too. And that's the kind of life that I choose to live, based off all the different things that has happened in my life. I conclude that I want to follow God and not follow Satan because it's better that way. And I think things are a lot better that way. But in life, I'm not always making the best decisions, and sometimes I make mistakes. So I make all these choices, and some of those choices are really good, and some of the bigger choices are better than the smaller choices. Choices to be involved with the different clubs, Bible clubs and youth groups, and then all these different things like drama club and the Earth Club in high school, and being a girls basketball manager in high school, where I was able to help out the the basketball teams, the girls basketball teams in high school, and just to help them out in different things and record their video games. Video games, record their games, their basketball games, not a video game. Real life, sometimes people die. It's real life, sometimes people die. But especially the ability, the opportunity to record the basketball games with a camcorder, to go to their different games and record it. That was really interesting. And you have all the other things that I was involved with that shaped who I am, that made me a better person. And you follow the course of my life in my biography, my biology, my biography, my journal, my diary. You follow the course of my life, and you see me as a counselor, and then my mom tells me that she'll be okay because I was gonna stay home and not go to Revolution Hawaii. But she's like, something will happen. Maybe somebody will come and take care of me, and so you don't have to take care of me, because I already promised my mom that I would take care of her for a year, at least a year, maybe longer. And so I was not gonna go on a mission trip to Hawaii. I was not gonna work with the Salvation Army and do Revolution Hawaii. I was gonna help my mom, but then my mom said, I know you really want to do Revolution Hawaii. Go do it. Take the opportunity while you still can. In life, we only have a limited time to make things happen, to do certain things, to take certain opportunities. They come and they go, and if you don't take them while you still can, they will end and they will go and run away, like Tiffany Rachel Cumbo, who was my best childhood friend that I met when I was about 5 years old, and I knew her for about, like, how many years? 13 years or so, until I was about 18 years old. So I met her when I was 5 years old, and then when I was 18 years old, in the year 2003, she died. So I met Tiffany Cumbo in the year 1990, I think, when I was 5 years old. And then in the year 2003, she died. And I don't exactly know why, but I saw her the day before she died at my high school during the lunch period. At the end of the lunch period, we're going back to class, and we're walking through the hallway, and I high-fived her and I said hello. And then I was gonna call her later that day after school, but I didn't. And then she was like babysitting, and then maybe she got like an overdose in Tylenol, Advil, and maybe other drugs. Maybe she got an infection on like a scar below one of her eyes. It could have been all those different things, or one of those different things. It could have been a combination of those things, or an unrelated thing, or a murder. Who knows? I try to ask her mother, but she hasn't really told me. She didn't tell me, so I don't really know. But I kind of had this feeling that I really needed to talk to Tiffany, maybe help her, maybe tell her more about Christ, that she needs to follow Christ, to ask Christ to save her before she dies, because I believe that's the way to escape hell, to go to heaven, to be with Christ forever, because that's who I want to be with forever. But I took some opportunities at different times in my life to try to tell her the things that I believe in Christ, that I believe that you need to ask Christ to save you, to take away your sins, kind of thing, and that you should follow Him. And I told Tiffany Cumbo that, my best childhood friend, other than like maybe Janet and Bill Bailey and maybe Bhakti and Gaia. And maybe there was a few other like really good friends, maybe Kyle Fanderson and my neighbor in Space 162. Maybe there was other good friends, but I think my number one favorite childhood friend was Tiffany Cumbo, and I would talk to her, and I was always hanging out with her, especially when we were younger, all the way back to when I met her when I was 5 years old, and when we got older, things started becoming different, and they started getting like boyfriends, and I would get jealous, and then sometimes we would not hang out as much, and I would hang out with her younger brother Michael, but then we started hanging out again for those last few years before she died. And then I knew I should have talked to her, but then I didn't, so I didn't take that opportunity. So in life, you should take opportunities while you still can, because you never know when you'll have that opportunity and when you will not have that opportunity. Things come and go, doors open and doors close all the time, and without warning, randomly, even though things are not exactly randomly, like in the Big Bang and the evolution, things happen for a reason, but you don't always know what those reasons are, and you will never really know all the time when things will come and go, when opportunities will be there, and when they will come back, or maybe they won't come back, and you don't always know the details, and you don't know everything, and you have to be ready for the best and for the worst. You have to, accept the worst in a way, but you should also expect the best at the same time. Those two things, the worst and the best. You have acceptance and be ready, but expect the best and not just the worst. And you be positive and focus on what you can do and take the opportunities that come at you. And I didn't really take enough opportunities with Tiffany Cumbo, and that's like regret. But I look at the past, at different things like that, at mistakes and missed opportunities, and I try to learn from it. Not to dwell in the past, but to learn from certain mistakes or certain things that happen that may be not my mistakes, may or may not be my mistakes. But never mind that, that's up to debate and different factors and things like that, and we can think about that for a while, but regardless of what is a mistake by you or by other people, or whose fault it is, regardless of those things, things happen. It's in the past and it's already happened. You can try to learn from it, whether they be lessons that you're learning because you were the one that made the mistake, or not. Whether you made a mistake or not, you can still learn from those mistakes, regardless of whose mistakes it was. And so you try not to dwell in the past too long, too negatively, or too positively. Negatively in the sense of like you cry and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe I did this and I made that mistake, or somebody else made a mistake, and how sad it is that this happened or that happened, or where was God when this bad thing happened, and how dare God did not do this, or he did that, or you start to blame God and say, oh, God did this, or God did not do that, or he was not there, or he did not help me, or he was not there for me to give me support, or to make me feel better, or something like that. And you can think negatively like that when you do not understand the past, or even when you think you understand the past, and you could start saying those kinds of things. Or at the same time, you could look at the past in a too positively way and to say, oh yeah, look what I did, and I did this, and I did that, and I'm so great, and I'm so proudful, kind of like Satan, and oh, I'm better than you, or I'm better than everybody, or other people, and I was able to make this happen, or I was a part of this, or I did this all by myself, or whatever you want to say, in a positive way, but in a bad positive way, where you're too arrogant, too proudful, too full of yourself, too thick-headed, too closed-minded, all these different emotions and feelings and bad character attributes that destroys your integrity and your reputation. Your integrity is a part of your character that nobody sees, the purest part of your character that is the starting point of your character, the center of your being, of the Death Star, of the Earth, of who you really are, that drives who you are and dictates what you do. That's your integrity, which decides what you do and how you do it, the different things you do and why you do it, how you do it, and everything like that. And then you have your reputation, which is the public part of your character. That is basically what people think of you, of what you do and how you do it. It's just what people think of you. And reputation is important, but integrity is more important, since integrity is who you really are, it's the private part of your character, while reputation is the public part of your character. And you have to be focused and not to be too negative about the past and thinking, oh, how dare that happen with the mistake I made or other people made or God made. I can't believe this happened and I'm so sad or I'm so angry, or different emotions and different combinations of emotions. Don't be too negative about the past, and don't be too positive in a bad way where you're like, oh yes, and I did this and I did that all by myself without the help of God, without the help of other people. I did it all by myself. Do not dwell in the past too much negatively where you're like, I can't believe this happened, that I made a mistake or somebody else made a mistake or God made a mistake or whatever, negatively, sad or angry or other emotions and combinations of emotions. Or don't be too positive where you're thinking, oh yes, I did this in the past and I'm so good, without the help of other people and without the help of God. Try not to be too negative or positive about the past and dwelling in the past, but instead only be in the past long enough to learn from the mistakes and other things of the past and try to move on. Learn from the past. Learn from the past and do not dwell in the past, and move on. It's very important to move on, but it's really hard for people to move on. And sometimes you should not move on prematurely. You need to take your time to go back, not to dwell on the past negatively or positively, but to learn from the past, to think about the different things, and to take some good critical notes to say, okay, I should take opportunities for next time. That I'm not gonna try to think too much every single day about the mistakes I made or mistakes other people made or the different things that happen. I'll try not to cry too much or to be angry too much or other emotions. But I will try to remember, but maybe I can learn some lessons, learn some things, food for thought. Maybe not to miss opportunities. Like if I have a friend, maybe I should call the friend every once in a while, because you never know when the friend might die. Which that's happened to me. I'm telling you that Tiffany Cumbo, she died, and I should have called her. And so I learned that lesson, that you live every life to the fullest, because you never know when your day will come to an end, your life will come to an end, or when the life of others may come to an end, and you never know what's gonna happen. And my life is full of these different stories of making mistakes. And I was, at schools, at Bible camps, Bible colleges, and I was working at Salvation Salvation Army camp, and then I was doing what I was at WAI, and then I went and I did Revolution Hawaii, and I was in the Revolution Hawaii, and then I would talk to Lincoln Hawk on the phone, and then he introduced me to a girl named Jeanette Whitaker, and I started talking to her, and then we would talk on the phone every day. This is at the 40th minute of the video, and I'm about to talk about the actual story of what this video is all about, which is about my life. So this is a video like about the journal of my life, the diary, the biography of my life. And so this is in the year 2008, and I'm in Hawaii on a mission trip with the Salvation Army. I'm on Revolution Hawaii, but during my free time, like in the morning, I would call her. We have like the time difference where it's like say it's like 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning in Hawaii, but in California where the girl lives, it's like 10 a.m. in the afternoon. And I would talk to her on the phone every day. We started becoming really good friends, and I've never seen her, but then I decided I'm gonna go see her, so I go onto her Facebook. No, not her Facebook. This is before the Facebook started becoming big. Well, some people had Facebook, and I may have had a Facebook at the time, but I was also on I was also on MySpace at the time, in the year 2008. So she tells me her MySpace, and I go onto it. It was on a Friday, like afternoon, but I was busy at the time, and I was gonna go to like a program at the Salvation Army, and we're gonna go there where we help with like people who are on drug addictions and alcohol addictions, certain addictions, and they're overcoming it, and they go to these programs, kind of like almost like an AA meeting. AA meeting stands for Alcohol Anonymous, where you go to these different meetings, and everybody gets to talk and to help each other overcome their problems, their addictions. And so I was going to one of those kinds of meetings, but right before I went to the meeting, I decided to go onto her Facebook. No, her MySpace. I was trying to go on her MySpace, and I looked at like the first picture, and I remembered what I saw, and I thought about it, but maybe I didn't really think about it, and I did not look at the other pictures. I only saw like one picture, and then later on, like the same day, like on that same Friday, or maybe like on Monday, I called her. I told her like right away, or maybe I told her in the next few days, and I told her like, you're ugly. So I called a girl ugly, and she got offended right away, but she didn't really tell me that in those words right away. Eventually she started telling me, but at first, I just told her she's ugly, but I didn't really say that she was ugly. I actually said that the picture was ugly, or I don't know what words I used. I don't know if I actually used the word ugly, but that's what she heard. It may not have been what I actually said, but I was trying to be honest, to be truthful, to say that I didn't really like it as much. But then I went back, and I saw the other pictures, and I really liked her other pictures. And so I told her, you also, you're not really ugly. It was just those few pictures that were ugly, but for the most part, in those other pictures that now I'm looking at, that I should have saw before, you look like Natalie Portman. And it's almost like, I'm trying to take back the words of calling her ugly by saying, oh no, you're not ugly, you're Natalie Portman. You're as hot and as beautiful and as gorgeous as Natalie Portman, the famous actress who played Queen Armadillo Padme in Star Wars, the Star Wars prequels. who becomes the mother of Luke and Leia Skywalker, and who also marries Anakin Skywalker, who becomes Darth Vader, the wife of Darth Vader. You look like, not like she's ugly, because Natalie Portman is not ugly and does not wear like an ugly black helmet like her husband Darth Vader does. She's beautiful, and you see her in other movies. She's beautiful and one of the most beautiful actresses and people on the planet, almost as good as Angelina Jolie, which is somebody else I'm kind of obsessed with, or have been obsessed with thinking, oh, I want to see her movies, and I want to see every single movie that Angelina Jolie is in, and maybe Brad Pitt too. And Natalie Portman is up there, almost to that level of perfection as Angelina Jolie, and I was telling the girl, my friend, and a pretty good friend at the time, Jeanette Whitaker, the friend of Lincoln Hawk, an old friend of Lincoln Hawk, who has been friends with Lincoln Hawk and was in his youth group, a youth group kid of his. It was his own kid, not his kid, but you know, like one of the people that would go to his youth group that he was in charge of, since he was the leader, the youth pastor kind of thing. And then he got really mad at me, and he has every right to, considering the situations and details. You know, he looks at me and says, you know, I trusted you, and you called that girl ugly, which isn't really actually what happened, but nonetheless, it's what people thought happened, and then other people found out about it. And later, I'm at WYI again for the next year, 2008. I'm at that retreat again for the second time now, because it happens once a year, and people, some people found out, like the sister of Lincoln Hawk, Megan Hawk, and other people like Megan McQuaid, and with Amberly Potter. And those are the three people that confronted me one time, and they're actually the only three people that I'm thinking about at the moment when I said other people found out. But I'm sure other people found out too, but they're the ones that came to me at least one time during WII 2008, and they're like, you know, how dare you do that? They weren't totally like really really angry, and they weren't gonna like kill me, but they were concerned, and they weren't exactly sure what I was thinking when I did it, and they were wondering and questioning me, and I don't think they actually gave me the time to answer and to explain myself. They may have gave me a little bit of time, but not really, and they weren't listening. They just wanted me to hear that they were upset, and that I should never ever do something like call a girl ugly, or a dog, or anything else crazy that I do. Was sometimes that happens in the course of my life, especially. I do very controversial things, and I usually have reasons for them, and I try to let people know when I do controversial things, or when I'm talking code, or the different things that I do that people may not understand right away, or may never ever understand. And I try to explain those things, and I try to get people to understand what I'm thinking and why I'm doing what I'm doing, but it doesn't always work that way, and people don't always follow me, and they don't always understand me, and then I'm left alone, and that kind of happens, and sometimes it's okay. For the kind of person that I am, I choose to do that, to be a certain person that's kind of like an outcast and a leader in that kind of way, because sometimes leaders are lonely, and leaders kind of have to be lonely sometimes, and it's unfortunate, but it's kind of what happens, that leaders are the loneliest, even though they're, you know, you see them and you think maybe they're not lonely, you see them around a lot of people and they're leading people, but then, you know, what do? They go home. It's kind of like being a boss, and you're a boss, and you're the employer, and you're over the other people, and they kind of have to do what you tell them to do, but they secretly hate you, and they're not really your friend. They just work for you, so you kind of become lonely because the people that work for you, they're not really your friends, so it's like you have no friends, so you're lonely, and sometimes that kind of happens with me. That's kind of who I am to an extent, sometimes. And I believe in standing up for what is right and to say certain things that needs to be said, not to say what people want me to say, but to say what they really need to hear, to say the truth in love to an extent, to the best of my ability. And at the time, I thought I was doing the right thing. If I were to go back in time, I would not do that, because I don't think it was that important in a way, even though at the time I kind of thought I was, but it's hard to explain to you maybe why I did it, but I understand why I did it. Um, Mostly it's that I was trying to be honest with her, but I needed more time to think about it, and I did not take enough time. I needed to look at the other pictures, because when I saw the other pictures, I would have just told her, yeah, you look like Natalie Portman. I could have skipped the ugly part. Instead of saying, oh yeah, you look ugly, I could have just like forget that part. I should have. I think I should have just skipped that part. It's kind of important, but not as important as talking about the positive parts of a person, and to tell them, what to focus on. To focus on the good things instead of focusing on, oh yeah, there may be a few pictures that are bad, that kind of makes you look ugly, but that happens with everybody, so it's like assumed and it's common sense, and it's something that doesn't really need to be talked about, really. Because, yeah, of course, people look ugly sometimes if they have like a bad hair day, if they wake up on the wrong side of the bed, if they have a bad photo shoot, if they, have bad pictures, or they're wearing the wrong clothes, or they're not smiling enough in their picture, or if they have a bad hairdo or bad makeup, or whatever the case would be, all these different factors, of course people are going to look ugly. And I could look ugly right now, maybe you may say that or not, but it happened, and that's life. But you don't really need to talk about it. But at the same time, or at the time, I thought that I needed to talk about it, but I wasn't patient enough, and that's one of my weaknesses, is not being patient enough, not waiting enough. The older I get, the more I pray to God to ask for help, to wait more, to be more patient, to think about things before I say it. And I'm still working on it, because I needed to wait a little bit longer. But instead, what I did was, I'm really good friends with this girl, Jeanette Whitaker, a friend of Lincoln Hawk of the Salvation Army in Long Beach, California, United States. I'm really good friends with this girl. I'm talking to her every day on the phone for like an hour every day, or almost every day, like really like every day for like a few months, like 3 or 4 months, and then I decide to see her, because I was gonna actually move to Long Beach and help Lincoln Hawk. That did not happen, but that was the plan that Lincoln Hawk suggested, and maybe his wife at the time suggested too, that I would come and I would get this new family that I needed, because they were thinking that I didn't really have a lot of good close friends, which is true, or partly true, that I needed, family, family and friends. So and I needed, a ministry, to serve God, and they wanted that, and they needed help, and I wanted that too, and I agreed to that, and I was like, okay, sure. Uh, and that's really what I wanted to do. So I was going to go to Long Beach in 2008, in August, after working at Camp Karatli for the second summer in the wilderness program. And after going back to the Salvation Army retreat, the WYI, for the second summer and for the second year, right after that, I was gonna go. I was gonna go to Long Beach and live in Long Beach and work with Lincoln Hawk, and that was a really good idea, and that added inspiration, and and it was something that I was looking forward to tremendously. But Lincoln Hawk was watching me, and he was talking to other people that was in Hawaii and asking questions about the different things that I would do, and some of the things that I was doing was controversial and questionable, and I understand how they feel to an extent, and it's understandable, and I know how they feel, and it's kind of sad that these things happen, that I would make certain mistakes, and especially calling the girl ugly, even though I didn't really call it ugly, or I had the good intentions and I wasn't trying to, and I made that mistake, and I take the responsibility. Never mind my excuses or my reasons or my good intentions, it still happened, and it hurt her tremendously. I think it really hurt her, even though I wasn't trying to hurt her. When I unintentionally called her ugly, I hurt her, and it's something that I should be more careful about, and it's something I need to learn. So, like, one of my life lessons I learned is take opportunities, talk to people while you still can before they die, because Tiffany come will die, and think about what you're gonna say before you say it. Try to think about it a little bit more time. Maybe spend a couple days thinking about it, processing the information. Do your homework, which I did not do. I should have looked at the other pictures, and and and, and I should have saw that the other pictures of her looked like Natalie Portman, because then I would have just said you look like Natalie Portman, which is better than saying you look ugly and then oh, and you look like Natalie Portman, because as soon as you say ugly, they become tone deaf, or they stop listening and they can't hear what you're gonna say next. Which what I said next was you look like Natalie Portman, but it's too late now. You can't take back the first thing you said, kind of thing. And that's kind of like first impressions. You get in first impressions of somebody, and you never forget it. Which maybe you should, and you should not just judge a book by its cover, but it's usually what people do, and that's what happens with words as well. And this is one of my life lessons. You should think about something a little bit more before you say it, because you can't take certain things back. Even though things should be taken back, in practicality and actuality, people should be smarter than that, and they should think about it, and they should have took it back, my words, and realized that I wasn't trying to offend or hurt her. You can't always get people to understand that and to do those things, so it's not always going to happen. So you should give people a shadow of doubt, or not shadow of doubt, but a benefit of the doubt. You should be a little more careful with people and not just be like, you should be smarter than that, and you should understand what I was trying to say, that I wasn't trying to hurt you, and that I wasn't really trying to say that you're ugly, just the picture was ugly. Not you. You were not ugly. The picture was ugly, and you actually also look like Natalie Portman. And I can try my best to try to win people to my side, to my argument of this debate, try to make people understand my point of view, but it's not always going to happen. You have to realize that. And those are some of the things I'm learning in life, that people are not always going to relate to you and understand why you do what you do in your integrity, in your character, in your attributes. And instead, they just see like first impressions, and they see your reputation of what they think about you, of what they want to think about you. And those things are going to stand out more. And Lincoln Hawk he studied me, he did his homework to an extent, he talked to people about me, and people told him what I would do in Revolution Hawaii when I lived in Hawaii for 9 months, helping the Salvation Army and helping people in different things, different programs. But I made mistakes, or people misread and misinterpret some of the things I did, and I can talk about those things in later videos. But in this video, it's just about that one story. And I went through some rabbit trails in this video where I talked about other things. But that's what I do, and I like to associate and relate things to other things and connect the dots, and I believe that's better, and it kind of helps you when you do your homework and when you connect the dots and do all these things, because it may protect you from making the wrong mistakes or making too many mistakes and saying the wrong things, like some of the wrong things I've said in the past, like calling a girl ugly or calling a girl a dog. Maybe if you do more homework and you associate things and connect the dots and things like that, you may see the bigger picture and the bigger pictures in life that may help you understand life better, to help you be nicer, or to help you say better words that may not offend people as much, and you should try to have better first impressions and not to offend people as much, and to be a little nicer. But you can't always do that, because sometimes you have to tell the truth, and the truth hurt, and you can't handle the truth kind of thing, and you will look like a bad guy sometimes, making trouble in the neighborhood, like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Sometimes you will look like you're making trouble in your neighborhood, and that will be unavoidable. But pick your battles, choose your battles wisely, because sometimes you can avoid certain conflicts. Conflict is not always bad. Sometimes people are taught that conflict is bad, like in Asian countries, like the Philippines even, and Vietnam, and because I'm living in Vietnam right now. It's the 12th of August today, 2013, the year 2013. It's Wednesday. It's 1 p.m. That is 1:17 p.m. in this time zone, whatever time zone that Saigon, Vietnam is in. That's what day it is. It's the 12th of August. August, that's the 8th month of the year 2013. And here I am, and I'm still learning, and I'm still growing, and I will do my best. So what are the mistakes that you've made in your life? Have you ever called a girl ugly? You ever called a girl a dog? What are the different things you called a girl? Or if you're a girl, what are the different things you've called a guy? What are the regrets you've had? Or what are the lessons you learn in your life? When you learn lessons in your life, if you do learn lessons in your life, when you look past everything, when you look at the past, when you look at the past and look at the mistakes you made, or look at the different things that's happened in the past, what are the things that you are learning, and how are you becoming a better person, or how are you not becoming a better person if you're not becoming a better person? I'll take either one. Let me know in the comments below, or email me at originaloatmeal@gmail.com. Like this video, subscribe to me for more wonderful videos, and let me know of what kind of videos I should make in the future, with different reviews, or maybe I should sing songs if you want to hear me sing, or maybe I should make music videos, or actual videos, or comic strip videos, or, I'm interested in a lot of different things. Since I was 10 years old, I've been interested in making movies. So let me know, give me questions, give me suggestions, tell me what you think, tell me anything, let me know. And continue to work on yourself. Whether you want to or not, you should. Be careful with the words, and let me know of mistakes that you have made, or mistakes other people made, and the things They they've said, what kind of mistakes have you made? What kind of things have you called people? Or other people have called you or called other people? How bad has it been? Or whatever. You beautiful, ugly Natalie Portman. Yo, down in the hood.